let's talk about the code of occupational health and safety. This is code which is really focused at the workers. So by default or by understanding, you should be very clear that the laws are very clear in terms of now classifying who is an individual who's a worker and who is an individual who's not a worker. So any organization which is having 10 or more workers is going to be talking about this law. So if an organization does not have workers, 10 or more workers, so most of these sections of this will not be applicable on them. So therefore, before we move, let us talk a little bit about who is a worker so that you get clarity. Clarity is a person who is performing a task in an organization, whatever be the task. But if that task is for managerial or administrative capacity, or if that task is of a supervisory capacity, then the person is not a worker. Again, if you're when you're doing supervisory tasks, then the limit of 18,000 rupees per month is also there. So which means anybody who's getting less than that. What that means is that if you have a manager who's getting 10,000, yes, they are not a worker. Okay. However, it also means that if you have a supervisor who's getting if you have a manual laborer whom you're giving 20,000 rupees, then again they are not a worker. So it's in a way saying managerial, administrative, supervisory roles, you should not be doing. Plus 18,000 rupees is also the wage ceiling, okay, of the worker that has been classified. So any organization which is getting, which is having less than or more than 10 workers will need to register. And this is focused more at the workers and not at employees. So let's talk about one of the primary things that has changed as a definition. So historically, factory meant that you could have 10 and 20 people. So 10 was, the factory definition said that you would have 10 people with power and 20 without power. Now it has changed. What it has changed to is 20 people with power and 40 people without power. Power meaning electricity. So the definition of factory has changed. That is something we should be aware of. However, this occupational safety and health code that we're talking about, it is more concerned about establishment where there are 10 or more workers. Okay. They have also defined what is an industry and what is an industrial premises. So that is a clarity that is there. And what one should be aware of is that the industry does not include charitable institutions and domestic workers. So the domestic workers are out of this gambit. Even though, you may say that yes, they are workers, they are doing specific tasks. And if I involve, maybe you have a very big house and you have more than 10, staff in your house. No, so they are not included in this because they are domestic work. And similarly, there are definitions of industry. There is also some two interesting things that you should be aware of, which normally organization would be following, but if not, you should be. One is called as an interstate worker. Interstate worker means somebody who does not belong to the state where your organization has a setup. So they are coming from a different state to your state to carry out their livelihood. So if you have more than 10 such people who are drawing less than 18,000 rupees, so they are called interstate workers, and you will need a specific section that you need to comply. Similarly, we have something called as a sales promotion employee. So someone who is drawing a wage of less than 18,000 rupees and is involved in the sale promotion activity is going to be covered under this sales promotion employee also. Okay, now what is a sales promotion employee? What activities are we talking about? That we can discuss as you meet a consultant. They'll be able to guide you. But broadly, if they're involved in the sales activity, what we call as field sales, then yes, they are covered under this, sales promotion employee. Now with this, let us move on to certain specific guidelines that you need to follow, irrespective if what of the three, whether you have sales promotion employees or whether you have the interstate workers. But as long as you have workers, you need to follow this. So let's talk about some basic things. First, you need to ensure that you're giving a wage slip to them. Again, why we are using the word wage and not salary? Because the government is very clear what wage means. Yes, in our day-to-day term we call salary, but let's go by a simple thing called wage. So every person needs to be given a wage slip, not after the payment has been made, a day before the payment has been made. Okay, So which means if 7th is the timeline which is set by the payment of wages, which was the Code of Wages Act, then on the 6th, 9th latest, you should give this wage slip. You need to maintain registers meaning record. They register, the term register means the government has a certain template or a structure in which you need to maintain this, and you need to maintain this. This time the government is very clear in terms of thing that electronic record maintenance is acceptable and you can maintain those in structures and systems. You need to have basic hygienic facilities like water, lighting, ventilation. The thing which a lot of organizations end up missing, but it is there in the code, is that you need to have separate restrooms for men, women and transgenders. So, and transgenders is something which we need to remember and focus on, because that is something which we find missing in most of the organization. It is very clearly written over here, it should be there. And a new thing which has come in is we need to provide annual health checkups for these workers. Those who are above 45 age, they need to be given that annual health checkup once a year, and those who are below, once in 2 years. You also need to ensure that you provide an appointment letter to each other workers. Appointment letter format is there as per the law. You need to ensure that you are providing them. Okay. And whatever activities you're doing for safety and health, in the organization, you need to have training system to ensure that the workers are aware of them. If there is a accident that happens, accident as in we are talking about a human accident, whether it is death or whether it is an accident as a result of which a person cannot work for 48 hours or more, okay, then you need to inform the labor authorities. It's not just only the police, you need to inform the labor authorities also. Okay, and workers can work only for 6 days, in a week. So we don't have, it's something which as a concept everybody is aware of, but bottom line, you can have 6 days working. But if you have drivers, they can work at a stretch for 10 days. Okay, how it works and how the holidays happen, yes, you should consult. But broadly speaking, they can work for 10 days at a stretch, but workers cannot work for 10 days at a stretch. They need to be given a break after 6 days. Okay. And anything that your organization does for the safety, health, well-being of the employees, that cannot be taken as a charge from the employees by way of anything, whether as a deduction, whether as a contribution, or whether it is a potluck, but yes, you cannot. So that is something which the organization and the law is very clear about. Now with that, let us move on to the second concept which is being talked about, which is overtime. So overtime is something, yes, which is very important both from the employee's perspective and the employers, because it's financials and productivity hours that are involved in this. But just to talk about this at the a broad level, if a person is working more than the said number of hours, then you need to give them overtime. Overtime is very clear, it has to be double of the wages. So it's not 1 time or 1.5 times or anything. Some organizations have that 1 time, 1.5 times, 2 times, 3 times. No, it's not like that. It's straight 2 times or the wages. Wages are also defined. But the change is that a worker needs to give consent that I am okay to work overtime. So that consent must be recorded, it must be available with you. There are limits to overtime, and when we say limits to overtime, it means that there is a limit how much overtime you can do in a week, how much you can do in a quarter. So as of today, the limit is 125 hours in a quarter of overtime. Okay, so which means that the individuals cannot be working for a certain number of hours beyond 125 hours. Basically what we're trying to say is that this overtime limit is controlled by the state rules. So every state can come out with their own limits, and that is something that you need to follow across. If you have multiple factories, so you will need to now comply with all the state rules also to be able to figure out how overtime works in each of the states. Compensatory needs to be given to workers, and that needs to be given along with overtime, and that needs to be given within 30 days of a person working on a holiday or a weekly off. Okay. With this, we talk about leaves. How many leaves is a person entitled to? Leaves is somewhat similar. Only one critical change that has happened. So what is similar is that 18 days of leave in a year, you get to carry forward 30 days, but there is encashment at the end of every year. So that's something that needs to be done. If you have a sales promotion employee or a working journalist, then their leaves are a little more than what the standard is. They get about 1 month of leave per year of working, and they also get leave for 20 days on half wages, and leaves for them can be accumulated for 90 days, and casual leave for them is about 15 days. This is something which is there from a leave standpoint. Now, if you have women, now this is something which we will get clarity as time progresses, whether we are talking specifically of women who are covered under this code, which is if you have 10 or more workers, or this is for women in general across employees. But currently we are going to go ahead with the assumption that this clause or this section is talking about only the code of occupational safety, which means it is applicable only if you have 10 or more workers. So it says that women can now work at any time. Historically, women were not allowed to work in night shifts, but now it says women can work at any time, as long as they are themselves giving a consent that I am okay to work before 6 a.m. and after 7 p.m. So it is important for you to make sure that you have consent from all women working in your organization. Specifically, if you're in manufacturing business, you should have a consent that I am willing to work. If they say no, then great, you should record it and ensure they don't work. But if they are, then you should have a consent, a written consent with you in records. And you need to follow these safety protocols also. There are certain safety protocols which are written in the rules itself or the act itself, but every state will also give its safety protocol that you need to follow. Now, whether those safety protocols are from a lightning to a woman guard to pick and drop, but every state has their own rules, you need to follow them. If you are, then women can work at any time of the day or the night in your premises. Contract staff is interesting thing because a lot of manufacturing industry works on contract staffing, and contract staffing means that if you have 50 or more contract labor, then you are eligible to be covered under this section. And contract staff is where things are talked about. There is no limit in terms of what fees or salary is considered as a contract staff member. So they can be any salary, any role, any designation. What basically gets covered under this is the contract staff cannot be taken in the core activity of the business. So if your core is manufacturing, you cannot take contract staff in manufacturing unless it's a seasonal requirement that you take it for 10 days or 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, and then you remove them. Permanent contract staffing is no longer allowed in your core business. And what is core business has been clearly explained, so that confusion no longer exists. We'll spend a little time talking about the interstate workers we talked about. So interstate workers, if you have 10 or more interstate workers, which means people outside of your state who are getting less than 18,000 rupees per month, then yes, there is a system of registering them on a government website so that they can be given certain benefits by the government. As an organization, one, you need to make sure you're able to track them. In terms of, you should be aware that this is an interstate employee or this is an within a state employee. And second is, you need to give them a benefit. If they have worked with you for 6 months, you need to give them a benefit of going back to their hometown and coming back to your workplace. From a train ticket, you need to give them once a year. Okay, that is a benefit that you as an organization need to give. A factory is somewhat similar to what the previous law talked about. Okay, there is no change in that. What you really need to be aware of, which we felt is critical for you to be understood, is that appointment letters now need to be ensuredly given to every member in the factory. You need to take a license. Unless you have a license, you really cannot employ even one employee in a factory. And most importantly, it is your job to make sure that a person, before coming in your factory did not work anywhere else for the last 12 hours. So you need to have some systems to be aware of that you're checking that the person is not doing multi-working at multiple factories. In terms of hygiene and health, there are certain things that as an organization you need to take care of. It's ventilation, temperature, environment is free from humidity, cooling and airworks, drinking water, preventing overcrowding, adequate lighting, sufficient arrangement. Again, we talked about the male, female, transgender employees, and also having a first aid box. These are some of the basic things that any organization would do in any case. There is a qualifying criteria, again something which existed, that if you have 100 or more workers, including contract staff, then you need to have a specific canteen for them, okay, where they can have food, and there are certain rules around that, so you should be aware of those. Safety officer and safety committees. So if you have 500 workers, then you need to have a safety committee. And if you are again building or construction, then at 250 you need to have those safety committees and safety officers. What the safety officer does, what is the qualification, all of that is as defined by the government, so you should be aware of those. An interesting thing which a lot of organizations feel very uncomfortable about, but now it's in the law very clearly, is that it says that no person in an organization can actually share the knowledge that they gathered in the organization, as part of their employment outside, because that will be considered going against the law. So confidentiality protection now is in the law, in this occupational law itself, that protects the organization knowledge with the organization knowledge. So the employee who's leaving cannot take it and give it at other places, saying that this is my acquired knowledge. Okay. So for building and construction worker, we explained that if it's 10 workers who are working on a project which is at least more than 50 lakhs and not a residential, they get covered. There is a building and construction worker board in which people need to be registered, and when they get registered, they get benefits, whether from a standpoint of all the social benefits of insurances and other things, or taking care of kids and all. We had a concept called the BD workers also, the BD and cigar. While it has important things, the area that you need to mention is no premises can be considered for BD and cigar working unless a license has been taken prior to that, saying that this is what we need to do, and these are the number of people who will work over here. Similarly, if you're in the building and construction worker, then you need to be very clear that no deaf or person who's attuned to giddiness, or a person who has impaired vision to a particular level can be hired in the building and construction work. A plantation is also one of the things that needs to be there. So if you are having plantation, you need to make sure that people are provided place to stay, the kitchens, the health facilities, and ESIC membership also. ESIC, as we saw, is going to only benefit the employer and the employee if it's provided. Again, going by the same thing, the central and the state rules apply. There are about 13 laws that have been merged into this, and all the other existing laws still continue to be applicable, whether they are the shops and establishment or other laws, they continue to be applicable on the organization.